All right, let's jump right in, shall we? Welcome, everyone, to a deep dive into, well, the power of imagination. And I'm not talking about just, daydreaming.
Hmm.
We're going way deeper than that. Today, we're looking at the work of Neville Goddard,
Hmm.
a mid-20th century, very influential spiritual teacher. And our source material today is a transcript from one of his lectures. It's from 1954. And let me tell you, this guy had well, some pretty radical ideas, to say the least.
Definitely radical. I mean, he even went so far as to compare human imagination to Jesus Christ.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I have to admit, when I first read that, that definitely raised an eyebrow for me.
Yeah.
But it's a fascinating comparison, right? I mean, he actually says, I identify the central figure of the Gospels with human imagination, the power which makes the forgiveness of sins, the achievement of our goals inevitable.
Right.
So what's he getting at here? Is he saying we all have, like, the power of Jesus within us?
Well, I think he's using a very powerful metaphor, right, to really highlight the incredible potential that each of us has inside. And I think it's important to remember that Goddard, he wasn't always speaking literally, but he was definitely emphasizing that Christ, as a symbol, represents that awakened imagination, that thing that we all have within us. And it's that awakened imagination that really, it can lead to those really profound changes in our lives, those real transformations.
So this isn't just about, like I said, daydreaming or just sort of letting your mind wander. This is about something much, much deeper.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Goddard believed that we're limited. We're limited by our senses, we're limited by traditional ways of thinking, and it's by embracing the power of imagination that we can actually transcend those limitations.
Right.
Right? That's where we find true freedom. He even says, the abundant life that Christ promised us is ours to experience now, but not until we have this sense of Christ as our imagination can we experience it.
Okay, so if we want to tap into this abundant life, this freedom that Goddard's talking about, where do we even begin?
Well, he believed that a really key part of this process, and this is what he called sonship, it involves forgiveness.
Forgiveness. Now, forgiveness is obviously a complex topic all on its own,
Right.
but how does it relate to, achieving our goals or living a more abundant life? How does he connect those two things?
It might seem like kind of an unexpected connection, but Goddard believed that forgiveness, particularly the ability to forgive ourselves, it allows us to really to identify with that true aim in life, with our ideal self. He says the supreme test of sonship is the forgiveness of sin. And, by sin, he's not necessarily talking about, those, religious definitions of sin. He's talking about falling short of our potential, missing the mark. So it's about recognizing where we've maybe held ourselves back, where we haven't lived up to those aspirations that we have, and offering ourselves compassion, offering ourselves understanding. It's a powerful way to kind of release that negativity and step into a more empowered state of being.
That's really interesting. So forgiveness isn't just about letting go of resentment towards others. It's about letting go of resentment towards ourselves, like forgiving ourselves for those shortcomings.
Exactly. And this is where Goddard's teachings get, I think, incredibly practical, right? Because he believed that imagination isn't just a mental exercise. It's an actual force that can manifest those tangible changes in our physical world.
Okay, wait a minute. Now, this is where, I start to get a little skeptical. Are we saying that just by imagining something, we can, like, poof, make it real?
But Goddard had some pretty compelling stories, some personal anecdotes to kind of back up that claim.
Okay.
One of the most famous ones involved his desire to spend winter in Barbados.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about this one.
So at the time, he was facing some financial constraints, just couldn't afford the trip.
Right.
But every night before he would go to sleep, he would imagine himself being there, just vividly experiencing that island life. And guess what?
Right.
Within a month, his brother, totally unexpectedly, sends him a ticket.
So he's saying that this wasn't just some coincidence, right? Like his imagination actually caused it to happen. Is that?
Goddard was totally convinced, that it wasn't just luck or coincidence. He saw it as the power of sustained, emotionally charged imagination at work. He called it thinking from the end. He emphasized the importance of feeling as if that desire is already realized, really engaging all your senses in the visualization.
So it's not enough to just, have a vague mental picture. We have to really feel it, embody the experience.
Exactly. And that brings us to another really important concept, inner speech. Think about those mental conversations that we have with ourselves, all throughout the day.
Well, believe me, I have plenty of those.
We all do. But Goddard believed that these inner conversations are way more powerful than we realize. He actually said, your inner speech is perpetually written all around you in happenings. He saw it as this direct reflection of our imagination and the state of consciousness that we're identifying with.
So if we're constantly putting ourselves down, doubting ourselves, or focusing on what we don't want, are we actually attracting those negative experiences into our lives?
That's what Goddard believed, yeah.
Yeah.
He really felt that our dominant thoughts and feelings,
Mm-hmm.
they create this blueprint for our reality.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, those negative thought patterns, they can definitely hold us back. He really encouraged people to become more aware of those inner speech patterns and to consciously shift them to align with those desired outcomes.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But how do we actually change that inner dialogue? I mean, do we just, tell ourselves to think positive thoughts all the time? Is it that simple?
It's a little bit more nuanced than that, yeah. Goddard had this technique that he called revision, and I think you're going to find this really interesting.
Revision. Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me more.
So think about it like this. It's like a mental editing process. You're basically reliving your day in your mind, but you're going back and you're revising any of those scenes or experiences that didn't quite go the way you wanted them to.
So let's say, you had a disagreement with someone and you wish you had responded differently. With revision, you'd go back and replay that scene in your head. But this time, imagine yourself being calm, assertive, responding in that ideal way.
Exactly. You're mentally rewriting the script. To match that ideal outcome, Goddard really believed that by revising these negative experiences, you're not just releasing that emotional charge that comes with them, but you're also starting to imprint those new, more positive patterns on your subconscious mind.
So it's about taking control of our thoughts and feelings even after the experience has already happened.
Exactly. And Goddard believed that revision is a powerful form of forgiveness for ourselves and for others. He even shared this story about a friend of his, an artist, who used revision to not only heal this painful foot injury, but also to mend this broken friendship. It really highlights how interconnected the mind, body, and relationships are.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm starting to see how all these concepts we've been talking about, imagination, forgiveness, revision, how they all kind of weave together.
Yeah.
They all point to the power of that inner world
Absolutely.
to shape those outer experiences.
Right. And that brings us to another fascinating aspect of Goddard's teachings, the idea of duality.
Duality. Okay, you've definitely got my attention. Break that down for me.
So Goddard believed that within each of us, there are two distinct centers of thought, two ways of kind of experiencing the world.
Okay.
He called them the natural man and the spiritual man.
Ah.
No, it's not this battle between good and evil, how some might imagine.
Okay, so what are these two men all about? Help me understand this a little better.
Think of them as two different levels of consciousness that exist within you. So the natural man is driven by the senses, by logic, reason, and, the physical world around him. The spiritual man is connected to this deeper, more intuitive level of awareness. It's that part of us that's connected to our imagination, our intuition, and our higher self.
So he's talking about two different ways of seeing the world, two different ways of experiencing it.
Exactly. And Goddard believed that both aspects are essential, but he really saw the spiritual or the imaginative man as ultimately more powerful. And he often used the analogy of the I am to kind of describe this spiritual center.
Okay, so we have this natural man and the spiritual man. Which one should we be, listening to? Which one's in charge here?
Well, Goddard believed the key is to become aware of both.
Right.
And to learn to kind of align them. He taught that the inner world, the world of imagination, is that causal force. And the outer world, the world of the senses, is the effect.
Okay, so if we change that inner world, those thoughts and feelings and beliefs, our outer world will reflect those changes. Is that what he's getting at?
That was his absolute conviction. He saw the outer world as this mirror reflecting our inner state. He even talked about the importance of inner movement as a way to engage with our imagination in this really dynamic way.
Inner movement. Hold on, is this some kind of mental yoga we're talking about?
Think of it as mental action, like you're using your imagination to rehearse the reality that you want to experience. So, if you desire a new job, instead of just visualizing yourself sitting at that desk in the new office, you imagine going through the motions of applying, having that successful interview, and even celebrating with your friends and family after receiving the offer.
So it's not just about picturing the end result, it's about mentally and emotionally engaging with that process.
Exactly. Goddard believed that by engaging our imagination this way, we're actually creating the blueprint for our reality to follow. And he emphasized the importance of carrying this action into sleep.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard about the power of, visualizing before sleep. Is that what he's talking about here?
Yeah, but it's more than just visualizing, right? It's about engaging all your senses, really feeling the emotions, embodying that experience as if it's already happening. Goddard believed that as we drift off to sleep, that our subconscious mind, it becomes more receptive to those impressions.
This reminds me of his story about wanting to spend Christmas in Barbados. Remember, he talked about vividly imagining himself being there each night before sleep, and then miraculously, his brother sends him a ticket.
Exactly. That was a turning point for Goddard. It solidified his belief that the state of consciousness that we occupy as we fall asleep, it's incredibly potent in shaping our reality.
Okay, this is all starting to come together. But it also raises a lot of questions, right? What about those times when we just can't seem to shake those negative thoughts and feelings? What if we fall asleep feeling stressed or anxious or worried?
Well, that's where the practice of revision becomes so valuable, because by revising those negative experiences, we're essentially reprogramming our subconscious.
Right.
We're clearing out those old patterns and replacing them with ones that are aligned with our desires.
So revision isn't just about feeling better in the moment. It's about actually creating a lasting change in our subconscious mind.
Exactly. And that's why Goddard really considered this a powerful tool for transformation. He believed that revision combined with the intentional use of imagination could even lead to physical healing.
You mentioned that he had a story about a friend who healed a foot injury using revision, right?
Yeah. And that story really emphasizes the incredible power of our minds to actually influence our bodies.
It's almost like our imagination is this sculptor shaping our reality with each thought and feeling.
And Goddard believed that this power of imagination is that same power that's attributed to Christ in the Gospels. He didn't see those miracles in the Bible as like supernatural events, but as demonstrations of the power of this awakened imagination.
So is he suggesting that we all have the potential to perform miracles? I mean,
maybe not in that, traditional sense of parting seas or walking on water, but in the sense of transforming our own lives, overcoming those limitations, and achieving things that maybe seemed impossible before.
Okay, that's a pretty empowering thought, I have to admit.
It is. And it leads us to this other important concept, the idea that creation is finished.
Wait, hold on a second. Creation is finished. Does that mean that, we don't have free will? That our lives are already predetermined? I mean,
it's not about predestination, right? Goddard wasn't suggesting that our lives are set in stone. What he meant was that all possibilities, they already exist. It's like this vast cosmic library of experiences.
Okay.
And our role is to use our imagination to select the ones that we want to manifest. It's like, we have the choice of which book we want to open and which story we want to read.
So it's more like we have a menu with infinite options, and our job is to just, choose what we want to experience.
That's a great analogy. And we do this, according to Goddard, by aligning our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs with that reality that we desire. We become the conscious creators.
But how do we actually enter those states of consciousness that correspond to our desires? How do we align ourselves with those possibilities that are already out there?
Goddard believed the key was to match our inner speech and actions to the state we want to experience. So, if we want to experience abundance, we need to start thinking, feeling, and acting as if we're already abundant.
So fake it till you make it, even if it's just in our minds.
You could put it that way. It's about embodying that feeling of the wish fulfilled, as if it's already a reality.
It sounds like we have to become masters of our inner world,
Yeah.
But what about those, those pesky negative thoughts and those limiting beliefs that just seem to pop up out of nowhere?
Well, that's where the practice of revision comes in handy. Remember, we can use revision to rewrite those negative experiences and reprogram our subconscious mind. It's a process of becoming aware of those negative patterns and consciously choosing to replace them with those more empowering ones.
So revision isn't just about feeling better in the moment. It's about creating lasting change on a deeper level. Welcome back, folks. Time to wrap up this deep dive, this journey into Neville Goddard's teachings. And when we left off, oh boy, we were about to tackle this concept of mystical death. Now, that sounds pretty intense, but hopefully we're not actually, talk about actually dying here, are we?
No, not at all. Or you're not going to suddenly keel over from listening to this. We're talking about something completely different. It's not about physical death. Think about it more as this symbolic death, like, a letting go of old patterns, beliefs, attachments, those things that just don't serve you anymore.
Okay, so it's like a metaphorical shedding of skin, like a chance for us to, reinvent ourselves.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Goddard, he saw this mystical death as being essential for growth, for transformation.
Yeah.
It's about surrendering, that limited ego-driven self and really embracing this more expansive, more imaginative identity. And he often quoted the Apostle Paul, who said, "I die daily."
Wow, that's a powerful statement. So is he suggesting that we should constantly be, questioning those beliefs and letting go of those old ways of thinking?
It's not just about letting go, though. It's also about recognizing that power within yourself. That Christ-like power of imagination that can actually reshape your reality. And each time you consciously choose to change a thought, a belief, or an action, in a sense, you're experiencing that mini death and rebirth.
It's like we're constantly evolving, shedding those old skins and stepping into a
Yeah.
new version of ourselves. That's a pretty amazing image.
It is. And Goddard, he actually had a personal story that I think illustrates this concept beautifully. He talked about an experience where he was able to mentally, transport himself to this countryside inn. He was aware of his physical body back in his New York City apartment, but he was also simultaneously experiencing this other reality.
Hold on, is he talking about an out-of-body experience here? Things are about to get really trippy, huh?
It definitely sounds that way, doesn't it? And what's even more fascinating is that he could mentally control this other reality. He talked about, freezing the action, like stopping a waitress mid-stride, the leaves from falling, even a whole family from eating.
Wow. It's like he became the director of his own consciousness, like controlling time and perception. That's wild.
It really is. And that experience, it totally convinced Goddard that creation is finished. All those possibilities, they already exist. It's like threads woven into this vast tapestry. And, our job is to choose which threads to pull, which experiences to activate through our imagination.
So even those difficult experiences, like those challenges and setbacks that we face, are all part of this grand tapestry. Are they actually opportunities for growth and transformation?
That's exactly what Goddard believed. He saw every single experience, even the painful ones, as potential catalysts. They're there to kind of awaken our imagination, to help us realize our true power.
It's as if every obstacle that we face, it contains this hidden doorway. And the key to unlocking that doorway lies within our own imagination.
Think of it this way. As you start to awaken to this power, you begin to see the world differently. You're no longer just a passive observer. You're an active participant in the unfolding drama of your own life.
Wow, it's such an empowering perspective.
It is, and it encourages you to take responsibility for your thoughts, your beliefs, your actions. They're not just fleeting impulses, they're seeds. They're seeds with the potential to blossom into your reality.
So what's the key takeaway for our listeners today? What's the one thing that we really want them to walk away with from this incredible deep dive?
Well, remember this. Your imagination is the most powerful tool that you have. It's the key to unlocking your potential, healing old wounds, manifesting your desires, shaping your reality. It's all there.
So it's about becoming those conscious creators, not feeling like victims of circumstance, but those empowered architects of our own destinies.
That's it, exactly. And as you learn to use that power of imagination with wisdom, with love, with intention, you become a co-creator with the universe. You start to bring forth that reality that reflects the beauty, the joy, the abundance that's already within you.
What a powerful thought, and what a perfect way to kind of wrap up our exploration of Neville Goddard's teachings.
It really is. And may this deep dive inspire you to explore that boundless realm of your own imagination and awaken to those infinite possibilities that are waiting for you.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep imagining, and keep diving deep, my friends.